Okay? So I just want to touch base on a few scriptures about that. Start from verse, I said, what?
Verse 8.
8? Okay.
Right. Acts chapter 14, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
And there sat a certain man at Lystra, impotent in his feet, being a cripple from his mother's womb, who never had walked. The same heard Paul speak, who steadfastly beholding him, and perceiving that he had faith to be healed, said with a loud voice, Stand upright on thy feet. And he leaped and walked.
Right, so this is Paul. They were dealing with men so much till they were perceiving men to be gods during this particular period. Men who had different powers to do certain things. Excuse me. And they're going to do it again. There's going to be men who's going to have certain powers on the earth in these last days, and people are going to perceive them to be the angels. They're going to perceive them to be Christ. These men are going to be coming back saying they all kind of people. All right? Read.
Verse 11. And when the people saw what Paul had done, they lifted up their voices, saying in the speech of Lycaonia, The gods are come down to us in the likeness of men.
You see that? This is what people are saying. This is what people are going to start saying when these particular miracles and things start occurring and happening in the earth. Okay? When Satan gives particular men power to do these specific things, these men are going to be revered as gods. All right? Read.
Verse 12. And they called Barnabas Jupiter.
Right, so they called Barnabas Jupiter. Okay? And we know that he's a Roman god. But there's also a planet called Jupiter too. So they named a fallen star, a dead star, after this god. Something that we're not supposed to be dealing with, but that's what they were dealing with during this particular time period, and that's what they're trying to usher in and push again. Okay? So they're constantly pushing out these different videos, and they're constantly trying to get us to go out into outer space and look up into the stars so we can reverence and honor these guys. That's what it's about at the end of the day. Okay, read.
Verse 12. And they called Barnabas Jupiter, and Paul Mercurius.
Right, and they called Paul Mercury, which is another Roman god. Okay, which we know there's a planet called Mercury. Okay, which is the dead star and the fallen god. Okay, planets don't exist. So I want to correct that, but I'm just saying planets because that's what they labeled and entitled them. Okay, but they don't exist. Okay, they're dead stars. Okay, read.
Because he was the chief speaker. Verse 13.
That's it on that. Now let's move on to another account. Let's get Acts the 17th chapter. Acts 17. And let's start from verse 16. Just two verses, 16 and 17.
Acts chapter 17, verse 16. Now while Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. Therefore disputed he in the synagogue with the Jews and with the devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him.
Read.
Then certain philosophers of the Epicureans of the Stoics, and encountered him, and some said, "What will this babbler say?"
So listen. So they thought Paul was dealing with vain babbling, but these Stoics and these Epicureans who were Athenians, and also the Stoics, I think they were like Hellenists or Greeks, during the particular period. But they were people who were dealing with different philosophical understandings. The same thing that people are dealing with today. People are dealing with these different philosophical understandings. And I actually went into this a little bit, and it's actually Scientology. That's what it was then. That's what it is today. Okay, it's actually Scientology. Now I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't want to go into it any further. But that's what it is. All right. When we're dealing with these particular astronomical understandings and trying to relate them to the mindset of man and things like that they be going into. All right, but read on.
In the middle of verse 18, it says, "What will this babbler say?
Mm-hmm.
Other some, he seemeth to be a setter forth of strange gods,
Mm-hmm.
because he preached unto them Yeshaya."
Right, so he was preaching to them Yeshaya, but back on that time they were dealing with that strange gods. The same thing, we're preaching what we're preaching, and everybody else is being philosophical. They're not really bringing no concrete evidence and no concrete scriptures on their belief system. Okay, read.
Because he preached unto them Yeshaya in the resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 19, "And they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying, May we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is? For thou bringest certain strange things to our ears.
Mm-hmm.
We would know, therefore, what these things mean."
Mm-hmm.
Verse 21, For all the Athenians and strangers which were there, spent their time in nothing else, but either to tell or to hear some new thing.
So that's what they did. They spent their time on telling us a new thing or hearing a new thing. And that's what people are doing today. They're always coming out with a new understanding, a new doctrine, a new video, new this, new that. Everything is modern concepts of understanding. Yeshaya has been around for thousands of years. The Most High now has been here since the beginning of time. This is not new. Okay? Read.
Verse 22. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said.
Right. Mars Hill. That's another so-called planet that they deal with. Okay? Which was a god. Technically fallen angel. Okay? Read.
And said, You men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you are too superstitious.
Right, so they were dealing with superstition. We're not dealing with superstition. We're dealing with evidence. We're dealing with prophetics. We're dealing with the word of the Most High. Read.
Verse 23.
Mm-hmm.
For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God.
Right, so they had an altar in Athens to a god, and so he didn't have a title, he didn't have a name. It was a fallen angel god. That's what that was. Read.
Whom therefore you ignorantly worship. Right,
out of ignorance they were worshiping this God. Okay, read.
Him declare I unto you, the Most High that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is the Most High of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands, neither is worship with man's hands.
Right, so you can't condense the Most High. You can't put him in a bubble. You can't put him in a particular section or a particular genre. The Most High is everything and he's all things. He's infinite in his ability and within himself. Okay, read.
Verse 25. Neither is worship with man's hands, as though he needed anything, seeing he giveth to all life and breath.
Right, that's it on it. Let's move on. Let's go into Jeremiah the 10th chapter now. Let's start from Jeremiah and let's start from 10 and verse 1.
Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Hear ye the word of the Most High.
Right, so hear the word of the Most High. Let's listen to the word of the Most High. Okay, read.
Which the Most High speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
Mm-hmm. O house of Israel, primarily and mainly for you Israelites. Y'all need to hear this. If nobody else hear this, y'all need to hear this. Read.
Thus saith the Most High, learn not the way of the heathen.
The Most High said for us to learn not the way of the heathen. We're not supposed to learn the way of the nations. Dealing with superstitious beliefs, these philosophical studies and understandings, we're not supposed to learn these things. We're not supposed to expose ourselves to these teachings. Read.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven.
And he also said, be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. So we got to come out of the stars, y'all. All right, read.
For the heathen are dismayed at them.
So the nations, they're dismayed at the stars. We're not. We're not supposed to be dismayed at the stars. But by us learning what they're learning, we're being persuaded. We're being seduced. Okay, because they're primarily the ones that's putting up this information and these videos, and we're gravitating towards it and we're eating it up like it's scripture, and it's not. Read
verse 3. For the customs.
That's it on that. I'm sorry, I want to. So right now I want to go into the book of Josephus, and I want to get chapter 6 because I want to touch base on some things that Abraham was dealing with, because they kind of use Abraham too as saying that he was dealing with astrology and dealing with the stars and things like that, but they don't understand to what degree Abraham was dealing with it. So we're going to find out. Give me one moment to get it up here. I think that's book 1, chapter 6.
Antiquities.
Yes, sir. You got it? Book 1, chapter 6, paragraph 5.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it up here on my screen. One moment, brothers and sisters. Okay. Chapter 6, verse 5. You have it yet? Hold on. Let me go to the sidebar, so I can get it on here. See, it's this way. I apologize, brothers and sisters. Hold on for one moment. Book 1, chapter 6. Yeah, that's not it. I'm going to have to move on from that. Let me try to get it on mine because I don't see it there. Let's move from that. Get the book of Jubilees, the 11th chapter. I apologize for that. For this, I made some error in my notes. Let's get the account in Jubilees, chapter 11, and we're going to start from verse 1. Okay, and then we'll double back to the other scriptures that I want to get. So we're just going to move a little ahead.
The book of Jubilees, chapter 11, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 35th Jubilee.
So now we're dealing with Abraham, okay? So y'all can all know where we're at. We're dealing with Abraham, and we're dealing with how Abraham was dealing with the stars when he looked up into the sky. What was he, I don't want to say the stars, but when he was looking up into the sky, why was he looking up into the sky? There's a reason, okay? He wasn't dealing with trying to read the stars to prognosticate, all right? Read.
The book of Jubilees, chapter 11, verse 1. And in the 35th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, in the 1st year thereof, Reu took to himself a wife, and her name was Orah, the daughter of the son of Chesed, And she bare him a son, and he called his name Sarah. In the 7th year of this week in this jubilee, and the sons of Noah began to war on each other, to take captive and to slay each other, and to shed the blood of men on the earth.
Go straight to verse 10.
Verse 10. And she bare him Terah in the 7th year of this week.
Are you in chapter 7?
No, you said chapter 11.
I apologize.
Chapter 7?
Yes.
Chapter 7.
You were in yeah, you know what, Malak, I'm sorry. Let's go back to chapter 11.
Right.
It's just further down the reading, but I want it just further down. Let's start from verse 15. I apologize.
It says Jubilee chapter 11 verse 15. And in the 7th year of this week she bare him a son and called his name Abram.
Okay, so now this is when Abraham was being born. Okay, read.
By the name of the father of his mother. For he had died before his daughter had conceived a son. Chapter 6 verse 16. And the child began to understand the errors of the earth, that all went astray after graven images.
Right, so at this particular point, Abraham was becoming consciously aware of idolatry, that something wasn't right. He was watching his father, dealing with idolatry, and he was like, something is wrong about this. Something is off. Okay, so he was inquisitive, and he wanted to see what, just seek this out. Read.
And after uncleanness, and his father taught him writing, and he was 2 weeks of years old. 2 weeks of years old, and he separated himself from his father, that he might not worship idols with him.
Right. So at this point, he was like, "Listen, Dad, I don't want to do this anymore. Something is wrong." So he separated himself. Excuse me. Read.
And he began to pray to the Creator of all things.
And that's when he started praying. He started linking into the Spirit, and he started questioning creation, questioning the concept of the Most High. Okay. Of his existence, because they were dealing with too much idolatry in not his existence, but worship. He wanted to know how to properly worship the Most High, because they had a God for every day of the month during this time of year. Okay, and then they had statues and idols. Okay, they had no life, they had no movement, and Abraham was questioning these things. I'm sure y'all are familiar with this story when he went and destroyed his father's idols. And he put the axe in one idle hand, and he's like, "They did it, Dad." That was funny. Knowing the statue can't move, and the funny part about it was Terah understood it. He comprehended that. You know what? He didn't do that because he can't move. But Abraham was like, "Well, Dad, why are you worshiping this thing then if it can't move and it don't have no life to it?" Didn't make sense. But read on.
Verse 17, and he began to pray to the Creator of all things, that he might save him from the errors of the children of men.
Right, so he asked to be delivered, okay, from the children of men, the way that we need to pray and ask to be delivered from the children of men. So we can stop dealing with the idolatry and the things that we're dealing with in the different doctrines and the beliefs that's out there. Okay, so we need to get on our knees. Read.
And that his portion should not fall into the error after uncleanness and vileness. In the seed.
And that's deep. That his portion, he was really talking about his children in latter days when he would grow up and have kids, that they wouldn't fall into the same error that he fell in dealing with his dad. Read.
Verse 18. And the seed time came for the sowing of seed upon the land.
Right.
And they all went forth together to protect their seed against the ravens. And Abram went forth with those that went.
Right. So seed time, okay, and I think the seeds were falling from the trees, and the ravens were coming eating the trees. So everybody went out to shoot the birds and the ravens away. All right. Read.
And Abram went forth with those that went, and the child was a lad of 14 years.
Okay. Right. 2 weeks of years, which is 14 years. Right.
And a cloud of ravens came to devour the seed. And Abram ran to meet them before they settled on the ground, and cried to them before they settled on the ground to devour the seed, and said, Descend not, return to the place whence you came. And they proceeded to turn back, and he caused the clouds of ravens to turn back.
So when he went and pushed them and shooed them away, like you have a bunch of birds and you kind of shoo them away, he went and did that, and they heard him. But naturally, it was the Most High behind the scenes making the ravens fly away. Okay, read.
Verse 20. And he caused the clouds of ravens to turn back that day 70 times.
Mm-hmm.
And of all the ravens throughout all the land where Abram was, there settled there not so much as one.
Mm-hmm.
And all who were with him throughout all the land saw him cry out, and all the ravens turned back,
mm-hmm.
and his name became great in all the land of the Chaldees.
Right, so when they witnessed this event with Abraham, he became great. This is when he first started making a name for himself in the community or in this particular land. Okay, read.
And there came to him this...
The Most High was with him even before he realized the Most High was with him. Okay, read.
And there came to him this year all those that wished to sow, and he went with them until the time of sowing seed.
Right, so there was people who came to him who wanted to sow. So Abraham was a cultivator. Okay, he was a farmer. All right, read.
And they sowed their land. In that year they brought enough grain home and ate and were satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And in the year of the 5th week, Abram taught those who made implements for oxen.
Read that again.
Verse
instrument?
Implements.
Implements, okay,
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It says, verse 23, and in the year first of the 5th week, Abram taught those who made implements for oxen,
Mm-hmm.
the artificers in wood, and they made a vessel above the ground.
Right, so Abraham also was an engineer. He had engineering skills. That's when he went down into, before he went down into Egypt, he already had these particular skill sets. And he utilized them when it came to him cultivating his crops. Read.
Facing the frame of the plow, in order to put the seed thereon. And the seed fell down therefrom upon the share of the plow, and was hidden in the earth. And they no longer feared the ravens. And after this manner, they made vessels above the ground on all the frames of the plows.
Right, so he made a contraction where they were able to plant their crops. Okay, and so the ravens wouldn't be able to eat their seeds. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. Let's get move on. Let's get stay in the Book of Jubilees and get chapter 12, and let's start from verse 17.
All right, chapter 12, verse 17.
Start from verse 16.
All right.
With T-Rod and his father.
All right, verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 6th week, in the 5th year thereof, Abram set up throughout the night on the new moon,
mm-hmm.
and on the 7th month,
mm-hmm.
to observe the stars from the evening to the morning.
Okay, he was observing the stars. But what was he looking at? Was he observing the stars to worship the stars and to bow down to the stars? Were the stars communicating to him? Were they talking to him? Okay, read.
To observe the stars from the evening to the morning, in order to see what would be the character of the year.
That's what he was doing. He wanted to determine what the character of the year would be. He was like today we call him meteorologist or weather specialist. Okay, so that's why he was looking up into the stars. He was trying to determine weather patterns. Okay, he wasn't dealing with that understanding of dealing with fallen angels. All right, read.
With regard to the rains, and he was alone as he sat and observed.
So he wanted to know when it was going to rain, because he was a farmer. He was dealing with his crops. He was into agriculture. Read.
Verse 17. And a word came into his heart, and he said, all the signs of the stars and the signs of the moon and of the sun are all in the hand of the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I search them out?
Right.
If he desired, he caused it to rain morning and evening.
Right. So he's like, listen, I don't have to look up into the sky necessarily to determine whether it's going to rain or not. If the Most High wanted the rain, or snow, it will. Read.
And if he desired, he would hold it. And all things are in his hand. And he prayed that night and said, my power, most high, thou alone art my power. And thee, in thy dominion have I chosen, and thou hast created all things, and all things that are the works of thy hands. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits, who have sway over the thoughts of men's heart.
You see that? So he was saying, listen, deliver me from the sway of evil spirits, who have what?
Who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts.
Who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts. And these evil spirits are the fallen angels. These spirits are the angels that's dealing with the stars and teaching people this certain information that they're dealing with. Okay, these people that's putting up these videos, once again, I can't say it enough, that's what they're dealing with. They're dealing with these fallen angels. But they're looking up into the stars, and these angels are dealing with them and giving them false prophecy. Okay, and false information. There's more on that.
And it says, and let not them lead me astray from thee, my power.
And he said, don't let them lead me astray from you. The same thing that's happening today. When we deal with this information that's out there, it's leading us astray from the Most High. That's what's happening. That's what's taking place. It's causing us to second guess the Most High. It's causing us not to be, not to be sure about what we've been reading in Scripture. That's why Paul made that comment about how he marveled at the fact that we was soon shaken from another gospel or a different understanding. He couldn't understand that. When the Most High, the Scripture said the Most High's foundation is sure, is strong. Okay, read.
Establish thou me and my seed forever.
You see that? So now he's saying, listen, establish me and my seed forever. All right? So we have to be established on the principles and the basis of this knowledge that's contained in the Bible. Because that's what our forefather prayed to the Most High for. Okay? Is there more on that?
That we go not astray from henceforth and forevermore.
That's it. Okay, let's go in the book of Josephus. Let's see if I can find this particular scripture again. It's in the book 1, chapter 7. Let me get it right here, because I want to get another account of that. Yeah, book 1, chapter 7, verse 1.
All right. It says, now Abram, having no son of his own, adopted Lot, his brother Haran's son, and his wife Sarai's brother. And he left the land of Chaldea when he was 75 years old, and at the command of the Most High.
So this is Abraham with time warping, okay? Going in time, read.
And at the command of the Most High went into Canaan, and therein he dwelt himself, and left it to his posterity. He was a person of great sagacity, both for understanding all things and persuading his hearers.
Right. So he was educated. I don't want to say use the word science, but he was educated in these different fields, okay, of thought. Okay. Read.
And not mistaken in his opinions. For which reason he began to have higher notions of virtue than others had. And he had determined to renew and to change the opinion all men happen then to have concerning the Most High.
Right. So back then, when he had this, when he started getting this revelation and started communicating and dealing with the Most High, he felt compelled, okay, to share that information and start teaching the information. The same way when we got the knowledge and the truth, we had an overwhelming feeling to share the information and start teaching the information and start teaching about the true power. Read.
For he was the first that ventured to publish this notion that there was but one God, the creator of the universe. Right. So at that point, he started publishing this information. He started teaching different people in the area that he was in. First, he tried to give it to his father, okay,
and brothers and sisters who were in the land of Chaldea, but they didn't embrace it. Okay, read.
And that as to other gods, if they contributed anything to the happiness of men, that each of them afforded it only according to his appointment, and not by their own power. This his opinion was derived from the irregular phenomena that were visible both at land and sea.
Right, so that phenomena that he's talking about that was visible from land and sea was the stars and was the heavens. Okay, when he, witnessing and seeing the sun and the moon. Read.
As well as those that happen to the sun and moon, and all the heavenly bodies. Thus, if said he, these bodies had power in their own, they would certainly take care of their own regular motions.
So now he's going into some of the wisdom that Enoch goes into. He said if these entities had power of their own, they would take care of their own motions. But they move basically because the Most High willed them to move and empowered them to move and do what they do. They're commanded to do the things that they do. Read.
But since they do not preserve such regularity, they make it plain that insofar as they cooperate to our advantage, they do it not of their own abilities.
Right. They cooperate. They operate for our advantage, for us to deal with times and seasons, days and years. Read.
But as they are subservient to him that commands them, to whom alone we ought justly to offer our honor and thanksgiving, for which doctrines, when the Chaldeans and other people of Mesopotamia raised a tumult against him, he thought fit to leave that country, and at the command and by the assistance of the Most High.
Right, so let's move on now. Let's go, let's get Genesis, the first chapter. I'll tell you what, let's get, no, I'm going to bypass that because I mentioned to people about Enoch, the 8th chapter, because they can go and view that and look at that. Okay. Okay, so let's deal with the luminaries just for one moment, okay, about the sun and the moon, all right, and the stars. And I want to, I'm bouncing around. Let's get Genesis, first chapter, and let's start from verse 1.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, the Most High created heaven and the earth.
Right.
And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of the Most High moved upon the face of the waters. And the Most High said, let there be light. And there was light. And the Most High saw the light, that it was good.
Right, so a lot of y'all already heard this understanding about the light being Yeshaya. All right, y'all get that in Hebrew Academy class, so I'm not going to touch base on any of that, but read on.
And the Most High divided the light from the darkness.
Right, and the Most High divided the light from the darkness. Okay, so Christ is the light. So something else was in the darkness, and he put a division between the two. All right, read.
And the evening and the morning were the first day. Verse 6. And the Most High said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And the Most High made the firmament and divided the waters.
Jump to verse 14.
Verse 14. And the Most High said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. Right, so that's what they were created for. Okay, for seasons, for times, for days and years. That's the purpose that they serve. And also the stars also serve a dual purpose also as assisting with the sun to light the earth at night. Okay, that's the purpose that they serve. Okay, they serve that particular purpose for mankind. They don't serve any other kind of purpose besides the sun, giving us vitamin D and helping the earth bring forth its fruit. Okay, is more on that? Verse 15. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so.
Right.
And the Most High made two great lights. The greater light to rule the day.
So the greater light rules the day. Read.
And the lesser light to rule the night.
And the lesser light rules the night. All right. Read.
He made stars also. And the Most High set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from darkness.
So that was their purpose, okay? To rule over the night, to give light upon the earth, to divide light from darkness, okay? Excuse me. Let's move on. Let's go back in the book of Jubilees. I'm sorry, in the book of Joshua, excuse me. Yes, book 1, chapter 1. I want to get it there too. Josephus, right? Book 1, chapter 1. Okay. Read.
In the beginning, the Most High created the heaven and earth. But when the earth did not come into sight, but was covered with thick darkness, and a wind moved upon its surface, the Most High commanded that there should be light. And when that was made, he considered the whole mass, and separated the light and the darkness.
Right. This is the Most High separating the light and the darkness once again. Read.
And the name he gave to one was night, and the other he called day. And he named the beginning of light and the time of rest, the evening and the morning. And this was indeed the first day.
Okay, now let's jump from there and let's go back into the book of Jubilees. Jubilees chapter 2. Let me get it. Almost done, y'all. I know it's been a long evening. Jubilees chapter 2, and start from verse 1.
Jubilees chapter 2, verse 1.
I want to get another account of this light and this darkness thing. Okay? Read.
And the angel of the presence spake to Moses according to the word of the Most High, saying, Write the complete history of the creation.
Right, so Moses wrote the complete history of creation. And if you all notice, when you look at creation from the Bible account, from Jasher account or Enoch account, Jubilees account, you don't hear the Most High speak about other planets. He doesn't mention them because they don't exist. You understand? In the manner that we think they do. They don't exist. They're not there. Okay? He specifically speaks about the sun, the moon, and the stars. Okay? And earth. That's it. Okay? But continue.
It says, write the complete history of the creation.
Okay, so the history was written. Right? Okay, and if planets exist, that history would be contained in the writings. It's not there. Okay? Read.
How in 6 days the Most High finished all his works and all that he had created, and kept Sabbath on the seventh day, and hallowed it for all ages, and appointed it as a sign for all his works. For on the first day he created the heavens, which were above, and the earth, and the waters, and all the spirits which served before him, the angels of the presence, and the angels of sanctification, and the angels of the spirit of fire, and the angels of the spirit of the winds, and the angels of the spirit of the clouds.
Right, so all the angels of creation, the elements, the sun, the moon, and the stars, they are all spirits, and the Most High created them, okay, to serve for a purpose. All right, read.
And of darkness, and of snow, and of hell, and of hoar frost.
So there's a spirit of darkness. Okay, read.
And the angels of the voices, and of the thunder, and of the lightning, and the angels of the spirits of cold and of heat, and of the winter.
And it's interesting too because we already know who the angel of light is, right? We already know who the angel of darkness is, right? Okay. I wanted to go into the scripture just to point that out, the light and the darkness thing. All right, read.
And of the winter, and of the spring, and of the autumn, and of the summer, and of all the spirits of his creatures which are in the heavens and on the earth.
Exactly. Read.
He created the abysses and the darkness, eventide and night.
There's the darkness again. The eventide and what else?
And night. And the light, dawn and day.
Okay, so let's get Malachi the 4th chapter. I just wanted to point, I want to put some focus or emphasis on the light and the darkness, okay? Let's get Malachi the 4th chapter. Before we get that, let's get Revelation 12:1 again. Excuse me.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet.
So now let's talk about the woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet. Read.
And upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
Right, so we know this woman is the nation of Israel, okay? And we know the 12 tribes also is relevant to the nation, okay? But what a lot of people are puzzled about is the sun and the moon, okay? And I want to try to see if I can clear that up for people today, okay? So is going at? You finished with verse 1?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's get Malachi the 4th chapter. Because they use this scripture also, as I mentioned earlier, to go out into the cosmos and start dealing with astrology and literally start dealing with the sun and the moon. Okay? That's not what this is talking about. Okay? As a matter of fact, get Genesis 37th chapter. Let me give you one example of Joseph. Genesis the 37th chapter, and let's start from verse 5. Let's read that real quick.
Genesis chapter 37, verse 5. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren.
So now this is Joseph having a dream, okay, and he's telling it to his brother and his parents. Well, I think his brothers at this time. Read.
And they hated him yet the more. And
so they hated Joseph for the dream that he had, that he told them, because in Joseph's dream, he wasn't deliberately exalting himself, but he was just exalted just through the revelation that he received through this dream. Okay, read.
Verse 6. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about.
So everybody was gathering sheaves, and they were holding the sheaves up, but his sheaves stood up, and the rest of the sheaves bowed down. Okay, so that was symbolic of him having the preeminence, okay, and the other brothers would bow down to him. Okay, read.
And made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said unto him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us?
Right, so they was able to interpret that and said, you understand? Oh, so you saying you're gonna reign over us now because your sheaves stood up and ours fell down and bowed to yours. So they interpreted it just on a simple level. They didn't go out into the stars. Okay, read. Or they didn't try to get, they didn't go into anything else. Or they didn't go into the earth because it was sheaves. But they didn't make it complicated the way people make it complicated when they go into Revelation 12:1. Okay, read.
Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words.
That's interesting too, because it speaks about them having dominion. Okay, him having dominion and rulership and power over them. All right, read.
Verse 9. He dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me.
So now he had another dream, and it was the sun he saw the sun, and he saw the moon, and he saw 11 stars. But let's continue reading.
And he told it to his father and to his brethren.
So he told the dream to his father and his brothers, to his family. Read.
And his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed?
So his father understood it, kind of felt disrespected. He was like, yo, man, what is this dream you have? What are you saying? You over me now? I'm about to you now? Okay? So Jacob didn't take it out of context. You understand what I'm saying? Jacob didn't go up into the stars to try to figure that out and dissect that. It was simple because Jacob understood the different concepts of the sun and the moon. Okay, and what they represented, not just in the luminary wise, okay, but symbolic wise, what they represented too. When you have through this dream. So the moon is feminine, female, exactly. That's all it was, and the sun is masculine, which is the father. Okay, read.
Shall I and thy mother and thy brother indeed come to bow down?
Okay, so that's the understanding. It was just his mother and his father and the 12 stars. And it was just saying, are we going to bow down to you? Okay, no, none of them looked up into the heavens and they tried to figure this out. It was simple. All right, read.
Verse 11. And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same.
Okay, so I just wanted to pull that out to get you to see that when you go in Revelation 12 and 1, you don't have to go into the heavens. Keep it on earth. All right? Okay, so let's get Malachi. Malachi 4 and let's start from verse 1. Excuse me.
Malachi chapter 4, verse 1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble.
So the day is coming that all the proud and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. Okay, read.
In the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Most High of Hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings.
Right, but unto us shall the Son of Righteousness arise on us with healing and with wings. So when you read Revelation, the 12th chapter, and it talks about us being clothed with the Son, we were clothed with the Son. We were clothed with the Son, with Yeshua, with the S-O-N, not the S-U-N. We were clothed with him. So that's what it's talking about. But let's read on though.
And shall go forth and grow up as calves of the staff.
Right, because we're going to be nourished and fed with Yeshua. So we're going to go forth and be bred. Read.
Verse 3. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet.
Right. So it said that they should be ashes under the sole of your feet. So not only will the wicked be tread down, but also wickedness should be tread down also. Okay, so I'm not trying to make this complicated, but I just want to go through a few other scriptures to show you what is talking about how we was clothed with the sun and the moon was under our feet. That's why I kept going into the different scriptures to show you the aspects of the light and the darkness. Okay, the sun is the light that ruled the day, and the moon was the light that ruled the night. All right, and within that night, not saying that the sun is anything wicked and perverse about the moon, excuse me, but the moon was the ruling light for the night, and in the night you have the darkness. All right, y'all with me? Okay, I'm not trying to make it complicated. All right, okay, so let's get Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. Let me get my apocrypha just to touch base on it just a little more. Wisdom of Solomon 5 and 6. Okay.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 6. Therefore,
can we go up some? Let's start from 1.
All right, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him,
right,
and made no account of his labors. When they see it, they shall be troubled.
So it's interesting because when Yeshua come rise on us, we will be standing in great boldness. All right, read.
Verse 2. When they see it, they shall be troubled.
Right, when the nations see it, they're going to be troubled. Read.
With terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation.
You see that? So they're going to be amazed at the strangeness of our salvation when Yeshua arise on us. Read.
So far beyond all that they looked for.
Beyond the expectation. Read.
And they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach.
Now all this is physical at this time too, like Malachi, us trampling the nations, Yeshua trampling the nations, okay, just like here. But it's also a spiritual aspect to it too. Okay, read.
Verse 4. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of the Most High, and his lot among the saints?
Right.
Therefore have we erred from the way of truth, and the light of righteousness had not shined up unto us.
Right. So the light of righteousness haven't shined on them because they erred in the way of truth. Okay, read.
And the sun of righteousness rose not upon us.
See, and the sun of righteousness didn't rise on them, he rose on us. Okay, so once again, when you read Revelation, the 12th chapter, it said that the woman was clothed with the sun. That was us being clothed with Yeshua because he rose on us. Okay, let's get it, one more precept. Get Wisdom of Solomon. Let's get the 17th chapter, 17 and verse 20. All right.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17, verse 20. For the whole world shineth with clear light, and none were hindered in their labor. Over them only was spread in heavy night. And
so it was a heavy night spread on everybody else. Once again, that night, the moon rather, is in the night, which represents the darkness. Read.
An image of that darkness, which should afterwards receive them, but yet were they unto themselves more grievous than the darkness. That's it on that.
That's it on that? Okay. Let's go to Ecclesiastes in the 17th chapter. I want to get that and tie that precept in. Ecclesiastes 17 and 19, and let's start from verse 17 and 19, verse 19.
Ecclesiastes chapter 17, verse 19. Therefore, all their works are as the sun before him, and his eyes are continually upon their ways. None of their unrighteous deeds are hid from him, but all their sins are before the Most High.
Right.
But the Most High, being gracious and knowing his workmanship, neither left nor forsook them, but spared them. The alms of a man.
Go to 25.
Verse 25. Return unto the Most High, and forsake thy sins.
Right.
Make thy prayer before his face, and offend less. Turn again to the Most High, and turn away from iniquity, for he will lead thee out of darkness into the light of health.
Right.
And hate thou abomination vehemently. Who shall praise the Most High? Who shall praise the Most High in the grave?
Right.
Instead of them which live and give thanks. Thanksgiving perisheth from the dead, as from one that is not. The living and sound in heart shall praise the Most High. How great is the loving kindness of the Most High, our power, and his compassion unto such as turn unto him in holiness. For all things cannot be in men, because the Son of Man is not immortal. What is brighter than the sun? yet the light thereof faileth.
Right. Read that again about all things can't be in him. What verse is that again?
Verse 30.
Mm-hmm.
For all things cannot be in men.
Right. So all things cannot be in men. Read.
Because the Son of Man is not immortal.
Right. Because the Son of Man is not immortal.
What is brighter than the sun?
Right.
Yet the light thereof faileth.
So what is brighter than the sun, but yet the light thereof faileth? Who's brighter than the sun? Yeshua is brighter than the sun, but his light was failing in man. Okay, read.
And flesh and blood will imagine evil.
Mm-hmm. And that's what flesh and blood do. We imagine evil because we're contained in flesh and blood. Read.
He vieweth the power of the height of heaven,
Mm-hmm.
and all men are but earth and ashes.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go into the book of Enoch and get the 69th chapter. I'm sorry, the 40th chapter. Let me get it. Almost done, y'all. Just hanging in with me, okay? Let's start from verse, the book of Enoch, chapter 40. We're going to read chapter 40 and 41. Okay? Mm-hmm.
Book of Enoch, chapter 40, verse 1. And after that, thousands of thousands and 10,000 times 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a multitude beyond number and reckon,
Mm-hmm.
who stood before the Most High of spirits.
Right. So these are the angels that stand before the Most High, the Lord of spirits, or the power of spirits. Read.
And on the four sides of the Most High of spirits,
Mm-hmm.
I saw four presents,
Mm-hmm.
different from those that sleep not.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned their names. For the angels who went with me made known to me their names,
Mm-hmm.
and showed me all the hidden things.
Right. So this angel showed them all the hidden things of these particular angels. Okay. With 7 angels, I believe. Read.
And I heard the voices of those four presents as they uttered praises before the Most High
Mm-hmm.
of glory.
Mm-hmm.
The first voice blessed the Most High of spirits forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
In the second voice I heard blessing the elect one and the elect ones who hang upon the Most High of spirits.
Mm-hmm.
In the third voice I heard pray and interceded for those who dwell on the earth,
Right.
and supplicate in the name of the Most High of spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard the fourth voice fending off the Satans and forbidding them to come before the Most High spirits.
Right. So at this particular time, he was fending off the fallen angels. He was fending off Satan and his angels, forbidding them to come before the throne of the Most High. All right. So this is speaking about what occurred in Revelation, the 12th chapter. All right. About how he was cast out and it was a war in heaven. This is what Enoch is making reference to. But even contained in this, Enoch don't make reference to the other things that people who use Revelation, the 12th chapter, he don't make reference to all these other so-called phenomenons that they relate to when it comes to the stars. He only is talking about specific things that the angels showed him, because the angels showed Enoch everything. So if that particular teaching and understanding was about the stars and Virgo and the other understanding that they go into, it would have been contained in the records of Enoch, and it's not there. Okay, so that's what I wanted people to see. Okay, read on.
And I heard the fourth voice fending off the Satans and forbidding them to come before the Most High spirits to accuse them who dwell on the earth.
You see that? Because that's what he was doing, coming to the Most High and accusing him, but that got cut off. Okay, read.
After that, I asked the angels of peace who went with me, who showed me everything that is hidden. Who are these four presents which I have seen, in whose words I have heard and written down? And he said to me,
see, so he heard the words and he wrote it down. All right, read.
He said to me, the first is Michael, the merciful and long-suffering. And the second, who is set over all the diseases and in all the wounds of the children of men, is Raphael. And the third, who is set over all the powers, is Gabriel. And the fourth, who is set over the repentance unto hope of those who inherit eternal life, is named Phanuel.
Right.
And these are the four angels of the Most High, of spirits, in the four voices I heard in those days.
Right.
And after that I saw all the secrets of the heavens, and how the kingdom is divided, and how